Hi, this is Chris Wolf again with Backstage or TOCA Backstage, and I am extremely honored to have Miss Sara Carson here. You may remember her and her pal Hero from America's Got Talent, and we're excited to welcome her to the June 22nd South Bay Festival of the Arts. Welcome, Sara. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Great, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, totally.
So everyone, I'm sure everyone who listens to this or sees this will recognize you from America's Got Talent. How was that experience for you?
It was really fun. So at first, I didn't quite know what to expect. And then when we got further along in the competition, I started to realize that it was a lot of work. And it was pretty much a full-time job. It took up almost 3 months of my life. But it was really fun and it was rewarding, and I get to continue doing what I love to do. So it was good.
And is it weird? I mean, you had such a harrowing experience. Not only did you come out and tell your history, but also to almost not make it moving forward. I have to tell you, I don't know if it's just me. I'm a sentimental guy, but my heart was breaking for you. And then when Simon, who is known to be quite the, I guess, the hardball guy, he came through for you. How was that experience?
Well, they made me talk to a psychiatrist after I got off the stage. So
Really?
yeah, I mean, I even watching my audition back, it just kind of goes to show you that the show seems to be a little fixed because there was no reason that my dog act shouldn't have just blown through with flying colors. It was quite interesting. Like if you just kind of go back and look at it and just see how well it was put together and the incredible tricks that were put into the performance, and to get two no's and two yeses just seems kind of odd. But at the time, like I wasn't thinking about any of that. I was just super upset that I gave it my all, and I knew that we did extremely well. And basically, at that point in time, I thought that I was going home, and I thought that I wasn't going to continue on the show. So it was pretty heartbreaking, and like everything you saw on TV was very real.
Yeah. Well, you could
Yeah,
tell. You could tell. It definitely didn't look
yeah.
fake.
Yeah, so I was extremely upset, and I thought I was going home, and then Simon came up on stage, and I still thought I was going home because at that point in time, we all knew that he had already used his golden buzzer, so there was no reason for me to go through. But thankfully, Howie pulled through, and we got to continue.
So it's funny because did you make a lot of friends throughout that experience? I mean, it's funny because I see like some of the people on social media, Puddles and other people, and they also like the other performers' social media. Are you guys? Is there like have you created bonds with any of the other performers?
Yeah, so you have to think about it this way. Like we were spending days and days and days with these people, sometimes like up to 15 hours locked in the same room with these people. So you make friends very quickly. And yeah, I'm friends with pretty much everybody that was in the semifinals and up because we spent so much time together. And you just kind of, yeah, you become friends. So
That's great.
yeah. And I do. I keep in touch with pretty much everybody. Darcy, who won that season, is the nicest girl in the world, and she so deserved it. I keep in touch with her. I keep in touch even with people that are on the newer seasons. I became friends with just because sometimes they reach out to you and they ask you how your experience was, and they so happen to get really far in the competition, and you can be like, "Hey, I know that person." But yeah, you become friends with everybody, and it's just like a big family. We're all very supportive of each other, because really, in the reality of it, America's Got Talent is not a competition. It's just who likes what at that time.
Right. Well, and that's what I say. It's all subjective. It's like, one person may like something else, somebody else doesn't like. It's all subjective.
Yeah, there's some people that completely hated my dog act, but then there's some people that say, "Well, I watched this other dog act, and I just kept saying, wow, Sara and Hero were so much better." So it's like art is just very subjective.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny you mentioned that because I was watching it. what is it, the All Stars or whatever it was that was recently on, and there was another dog act, and I'm like, Hero was so much better.
Yeah, I tried
Um,
to meet with her too because we were on separate weeks, but we were both there at the same time. And she, I guess, was just a little too busy to meet with me. But it is fun just seeing other dog acts because in my mind, if I were to have any say in how Champions ran, I would try and do each week is a theme. So the first week is dogs, the second week is singers, the third week is acrobats, just so it can actually be the best of the best because you can't pin me up against a singer. It just doesn't work.
well,
Um,
it's interesting because the Torrance Cultural Arts Foundation does a South Bay's Got Talent, which is how
okay.
we open our season, and we try to encourage young artists to try and we mentor some and we give them performing opportunities. And we're asked that question a lot: is like, well, I'm a dancer and I'm up against a little singer. How does that? And it's really tough.
Yeah.
We do our best, but it's almost impossible to compare. It's like
Yeah.
apples and oranges.
It really is. Yeah. So if I were to redo anything, I would try and convince them to just make it dog acts for one week and just make it so people can actually have a chance at seeing the best of the best.
Now, have you worked with Chris Peroni and Stunt Dogs?
But yeah, so I did several. That's kind of how I got my start in the United States. He helped me get a work visa because I'm Canadian, and he helped bring me here. And we did Silver Dollar City for several years. We did halftime shows. We did lots of theater shows with him. I don't think I did the Torrance Theater in 2000 and oh boy, it's on one of my contracts. I think it was either the 2014 or 2016. Like I did it like
So you,
way,
you did
yeah.
perform there at the Armstrong.
I did a long time ago, but
Yeah,
I did.
well, because I remember finding, I mean, I booked them and you looked vaguely familiar, but I wasn't sure. And then when I found out that you had known him, and just for those listening and watching, uh, Torrance Cultural Arts Foundation has presented the Stunt Dog Experience several times, and well, it's going to be great to welcome you back. So you'll be familiar with what the
Yeah,
layout is.
yeah. I love doing theaters. It's not an avenue I get to do all the time because they want like hours and hours of performing, and I'm only one person with a couple of dogs. So it's going to be really fun to be able to perform again.
And I don't know if it was covered, but how did you and Hero get together?
Oh, so a lot of people think that Hero's a rescue, and he's not. He's just from a farm in Canada. I was 16 years old at the time, and I wanted a border collie. And of course, most reputable breeders won't give a 16-year-old a border collie because that would be really dumb. And so, yeah, I got Hero from a farm. And when I moved out to the United States is when I started rescuing my other dogs. So I have 5 dogs now. Um, Hero is from a farm. 3 of them are rescues, and then I just got one from a reputable breeder. So I have lots of border collies now.
And how did you discover your talent for working with dogs? Is it
So I started training when I was about 7 or 8 years old. I had a Cocker Spaniel puppy who was just a family dog, and I watched some YouTube videos, and I fell madly in love with dog training. And basically, my parents didn't like dogs, so I was only allowed one. So I basically found a space that I could rent to run my own dog training classes. I ran basic obedience, tricks, agility, and I grew the business from having 2 clients a month, paying like $20 for the classes, to having 40 clients a month, and I got to raise my prices. So it kind of just blew up, and I just learned online. I watched videos, and I just kind of got good at it and loved it. Yeah.
well, that's amazing. So do you? I don't know, and you can tell me if this is off base, but have you patched things up with your family? Because I know that you said that they didn't want you to pursue this.
Yeah. So long story short, I'm a lot more open about it nowadays than I would be in international television with millions of viewers. So basically, it was my mom that was extremely unsupportive. She basically disowned me when I got Hero, which is sad, but like it's a blessing in disguise because I would not be where I am today if I didn't make the decisions I had to make. So my dad, my stepmom, my grandparents are all very supportive. But for America's Got Talent's sake, I couldn't just specify one person.
Sure.
So they made it seem, I mean, the verbiage was always like parts of her family, but they made it seem like my entire family was kind of not there. But it was just one person. But I guess a mom for most people is kind of a big part of their life. So
Sure.
I had to grow up without that, but it didn't affect me too much. I have a very good support system now, and the dogs obviously help everything. So, yeah.
And as I mentioned earlier, when we do South Bay's Got Talent, one of our things is that we try to encourage young people and young performers. If you had some words of wisdom to share with somebody who is wanting to pursue their talents, any words of wisdom you would give?
So honestly, the biggest thing that influenced me growing up was my passion to kind of show people that they were wrong. Because I basically grew up being told that like what I wanted to do was just a hobby. I would never get anywhere with it. It's never going to make me money. It's not a job, all of those fun things. So if you really want to pursue something if it's your passion and you want to pursue it, you can eventually make a living from it and make it a career and make it a job. It's just about not giving up. And literally the biggest thing that helped me through growing up and doing this was just, I was trying to show them that they were wrong. So if that's what fuels your fire, then so be it. But that's what helped me. So just if you're good at something, just keep doing it, and eventually you'll be the master of your craft and you'll be able to pursue it further. Great
words of wisdom. And so I congratulations. I hear you are engaged.
Yes. Yeah, I am. Thank you.
Will he be accompanying you to Torrance?
Hopefully. We both live very different and busy lives, so hopefully he's around and he can come and watch.
And I know that your main thing is training, but you're such a good performer. Have you thought about expanding this into a full show?
I mean, maybe. I've been doing it for so long. Even when I was in Canada, Hero and I did like 20-minute shows on our own. And we did that for many, many years. But I've been so busy doing shows that I think it's kind of nice to just be at home and like get a couple board and trains, train the dogs, train the people, and then just have more time to relax. But I don't know, maybe one day, but probably not anytime soon because I've been doing it for long enough.
Well, sure. And I imagine it's for example, with Chris Peroni, traveling with so many dogs must be quite
yes. Yeah, I did that for, it was like 2 or 3 years. I lived in his RV and we traveled with like 20 some odd dogs. And it was literally, when we did theater shows, it was you pull up at midnight, you either sleep there and wake up crazy early to set up, or you set up and then you do a rehearsal in the morning, you do the show, you pack up and you drive again. And it was crazy. I'm glad I did it. But yeah, I mean, now it's pretty much the same thing for me, except, for example, in a couple weeks, I'm flying to Florida to do one show, and then I fly to Texas to do a commercial, and then I fly to New York to do a show, and then I fly back to Miami to do a show, and then I fly home. And that's just in 1 week.
Wow.
So now it's just a little different. Now I just live on a plane. So
yeah. Well, and
I'm not sure which is best.
I did notice that on your social media, the hero is in a movie now.
Yeah, so we've been filming a movie for a month now. We actually only had one more date to shoot, but it rained. But all I can really say about it is it's a kids movie. It's kind of like Disney-esque. It's going to be really fun. Jake Paul is in it, which some people might like and some people might not like. But there's a lot of good actors, and this is my first time doing anything like this. So it was a learning curve. But everyone was super supportive and pretty patient with the dog. And it's going to be really fun. He's like the main – we were there every day for filming. He's in every scene pretty much.
Wow. And how's he taking to his newfound stardom?
Well, he actually is more of a diva than he used to be, sadly. It's really sad that I can notice that, but yeah, like he won't drink water out of certain dishes and just like random things that you wouldn't think. He needs to
I,
have a blanket like all the time. It's ridiculous.
I guess it affects everybody, no matter whether you're four-legged or two-legged.
Yeah, seriously.
So, and see, we have you coming out for, we're going to have you do two shows, and you said that you'll do a brief meet and greet out with some of the people. Is there, I want to let people know that you will do a meet and greet, but is there a way that they should approach the dog or any dog?
So normally, that is a great question and great thing to bring up. But my dogs, I mean, the ones that don't do meet and greets don't do them for this reason. But the ones that do meet and greets are trained to just be pet. So like you normally would walk up to a dog, show them your hand, get them to sniff it, and then pet them. My dogs won't even sniff your hand. They'll just be asking for attention. And that's just a trained behavior that most performing dogs do. So when they're up on that table, their only job is to get pet. If you ask them to do something, they won't do it, because I always tell people they're off. This is something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So when you see Hero or one of my other dogs up on the table, you can just approach them and start petting them, and they'll probably give you kisses and all that stuff.
Great. Yeah, I was thinking about that because I know that there's, like, especially like with service animals, there's definitely a protocol.
Yep.
So, and has there ever been an instance where Hero has not listened to you and on stage?
So the only time that would happen, it has never happened, but the only time that would happen is if I dropped the single cookie that I have in my hand and he eats it. If that ever happened, he'd be gone. He will only work if I have one cookie in my hand at all times, and then he gets the cookie and it's game over. And that's just him. So one of my other dogs doesn't even need anything. He's just happy to work and play and do stuff. But Hero needs to have a cookie.
Well, that's interesting. How do you discover, or do you train a dog to have a certain, like with Hero, it's the cookie. With another dog, it doesn't. How do you find that? What interests them?
I mean, when you're training a dog, you always figure out their motivation. So Hero's motivation is toys and treats. But when he's on the stage performing in front of people, it changes, and that just varies per dog. But every dog, when you're actually just training them at home or in your backyard or whatever, it's all about the motivation, whether it's a toy, a treat. It really just depends.
Is there any words of, like, I'm not making this about me, but my daughter has a dog who is like, doesn't listen to anybody. And my son has two dogs who are just like very obedient. Mm-hmm. What words of wisdom do you give somebody who has a dog that's just like a little you know, that would help get them to train their dog?
So I would say, besides the fact that you should send them to me for board and train, you should just add more structure into the dog's life. And I mean, breed of dog also does matter, but it's just all about structure. So a lot of people think they can just get a dog and just have it in the house and put food in a bowl and all the things that I look at as bad things in my mind. It's still an animal. So you can still love the animal and give it attention and give it all of its needs, but you still have to have structure in the house so they know that you're in charge and you're the boss, basically. So my dogs, they're crate trained. They only get freedom if they're watched, so that basically, like for example, if I have a client that says that their dog constantly gets in the garbage, well, I would say, why is the dog getting in the garbage? And they say, well, I left the room and he just went in there and he got through it. Well, that's your answer right there. The dog is unattended. So instead of just leaving the room, you should be asking the dog to go to their bed or stay on a place or go in their crate. So it's just all about management and structure and just kind of creating a bond between your dog instead of it just being an animal that's just in your house hanging out that you love. Actually, like, build a relationship with your dog and make it a working relationship.
Do you think that I mean, because I mean, I can tell my kids love their pets. Do you think sometimes that is almost um, not necessarily a bad thing, but that it really is about structure, right? I mean,
If you spoil your dog, it's not gonna listen to you.
right.
Your dog's not gonna have any respect for you. It doesn't need to. No matter what the dog does, it's always going to get love and attention and food. So yeah, my dogs basically my dogs have a job, and they have a very very structured life. It's kind of yeah, it's all about structure.
And just out of curiosity, what do you think is the easiest dog to train, or is there a breed that's easier to train?
I mean, there's a list. I would say like of more soft family-ish dogs, but even those dogs, like for example, a golden retriever. If you have a family and you want to get a dog, you normally go for a lab or a golden retriever. But I've still seen super reactive, aggressive golden retrievers and labs because they're being bred so often, and they're not actually being bred for their temperament or their genetics. They're just being bred because people know they want them.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter at that point. It's just about finding a good breeder or going to a rescue and actually evaluating a dog for your lifestyle instead of just going after looks or like you kind of said, like, what would you recommend? Just, I could recommend somebody a golden and they could go and get one and it could be super bad. So it's just really, there's so much more behind it and people don't really get that.
Well, and all these points you bring up are definitely reasons that they should seek out a professional like yourself to make sure that their dogs are trained properly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I got to say, I'm really excited for you coming out to Torrance. It's going to be a hoot. You'll be doing 2 performances and meet and greets, and I'm just excited to see what you have planned for us. We had such a great time when you were there before, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm very excited too.
Thanks so much.